A piece of news from a couple of hours ago. So apparently HSBC had acquired a significant stake in NIO, doubling their holdings for the company. And it's official, Wall Street has actually turned positive on NIO and NIO stock. So judge for yourself. We had a lot of upgrades in the last, 2 weeks, 1 week and a half. So JP Morgan raised their target price to $8 per share. Citi has raised their target price to $8.1 per share. Even Macquarie, who are known as these haters for NIO, they actually had a target price of like $3 or something like that. They have raised their target price to $5.50. And yes, this is huge for Macquarie. So today we are going to talk about all of that, about what had actually suddenly happened, why everyone is upgrading NIO. We're going to go over each upgrade and kind of try to understand why Wall Street suddenly sees NIO in a different light. We are going to talk about what will happen in September, because September will be vital for NIO, and many analysts are saying that September will be the most important month for NIO this year. Hello and welcome to the Market Monkey channel. My name is Vadim. Today we are talking about NIO and how suddenly Wall Street became so overly optimistic about the company. If you remember, a couple of videos ago I have talked about a huge problem for NIO shareholders, and the problem was that the institutional holdings of NIO are actually down a lot. So right now institutional holdings are less than 10% for the company. Now, usually stocks like these, the institutional shares are something like 41-42% of the company. For NIO, it's less than 10. And this is the problem. Because why? Because institutional investors are the ones who are actually moving the stock. They are buying stocks in big chunks. For example, like HSBC just did. They bought in one day something like 500,000 shares of NIO. So they are buying the stock in big chunks and the stock moves because of them. So now we're kind of seeing the reverse pattern. We are seeing more and more Wall Street companies going and buying big chunks of NIO stock. But let's start talking about that. So let's start with JP Morgan. So JP Morgan has released their research paper and they have upgraded the stock from $4.8 to $8 per share, and they actually mentioned that there are 3 very important events waiting for NIO in September, and they are watching what will happen. So the first event is on September the 2nd. It's the release of Q2 earnings for NIO. And we are going to talk a little bit about the earnings, about the upcoming earnings by the end of this video, but for now, this is huge, and NIO does not have a very good track record when it comes to actually delivering the numbers. The second event is the release of the formal prices for ES8, for the new model of NIO, the one which everyone is talking about. Because of that model, the stock jumped so much. So we are waiting on official pricing, and analysts at JP Morgan are, well, waiting as well. The third event will be by the end of September, and this is the NIO Day, the famous or infamous NIO Day. Huge event. Management of NIO comes out. Sometimes they're making some outrageous claims, and sometimes they're making very kind of, let's call them inspiring predictions, but sometimes they're promising or over-promising things which they cannot deliver later. So these 3 events will shape how NIO stock will behave. By the way, if you find this information valuable, interesting, press the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Now let's talk about HSBC. So HSBC doubled their stake in NIO and bought additional 500,000 shares. This is not a very huge amount, but you have to remember that these companies who are buying stock in such a big quantities, they are not buying everything in bulk, so they are buying over time. And the fact that such a big financial corporation as HSBC had actually went and doubled their stake in NIO, this means a lot. This means that actually the companies are starting to view NIO in positive way. How do we know all that? We know that from 13F form, which financial corporation and basically every publicly traded company is releasing every single quarter. In this form, they have to disclose which positions in other companies they have. That's how we kind of know how many shares were bought and sold, by comparing 2 forms of 13F. So now we came to the season when these forms will be released, and we will know how much the institutional ownership of NIO changed. But probably the most interesting piece of analysis came from Morgan Stanley. So if you have watched our previous video, there I mentioned the upgrade of Morgan Stanley, and they have upgraded the stock of NIO to $5.9 per share. Then, by the time the video was edited, we have found the news that they have upgraded the stock to $6.5 per share already. So this is kind of double upgrade for the company. What's more interesting about this analysis is that they are giving the kind of normal case scenario. This is the $6.5 per share, and they also giving their worst case scenario and the best case scenario. So in worst case scenario, they are mentioning that NIO could be worth $2.1 per share, which seems kind of low, but the best case scenario, they are mentioning that by the end of this year, NIO could be worth $10.7 per share. And I have to say, this is first time in, I think, years when Wall Street company, big Wall Street company, actually put a target price for NIO more than $10 per share. NIO shareholders, this is not a celebration yet, but it becomes better and better each day for you. And all of this is of course great because this is some kind of a good cycle, you can call it that. So the stock goes up, Wall Street looks at the stock, they upgrade the stock because of good news of the upgrade. People are buying and financial institutions are buying in bulk. Because of that, again, the stock goes up. For this cycle to kind of continue and for this rally to continue, NIO has to release some good news once in a while. And I have to say, like this August, news are predominantly good for NIO. If just remember what happened in kind of February, March, like everything was bad. NIO missed the earnings. Envo was going nowhere. They missed on all deliveries. Envo CEO retired, resigned, was fired. So the news were bad and the stock went down. Right now we have a bunch of really good news, like Envo L90s finally hit 10,000 cars per month in August, so they finally hit the delivery numbers. Firefly has released the limited edition 333 cars of some kind of a limited edition series, and they have sold out in 30 hours. So these pieces of news is exactly what we need for NIO stock to kind of keep in the rally. And this is why September is so important, because in September we have, well, at least 3 events where NIO could possibly kind of continue the rally and keep fueling this rise of the stock. Now, one thing I have to mention, which if I were NIO investor, would be really afraid of, is the Q2 earnings. And not because we are kind of expecting something bad, because, well, let's be honest, NIO usually disappoints. Look at this graph, it shows the surprises for earnings, and, well, the red means bad. I mean, NIO usually disappoints the investors. They are overpromising, they're under-delivering, and the stock goes down when earnings go out. So if only on September 2nd, NIO, we don't need kind of good surprises. We need just, well, everything that was promised, everything that was expected. If this will happen, I can definitely see stock going up to $8 per share by the end of September easily, on just normal news of Q2 earnings. We will be here, of course, covering kind of all of these events and looking at NIO stock. So if this topic interests you, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, write a comment, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.